back to Inner Peace Better Health with your host Saima. Today we will be talking about holistic healing, self belief, and the power of transformation, not just for your body, but for your mind, soul, and entire way of being. Joining us is Amy Lenius, a holistic health advocate, speaker, and self empowerment coach. After battling chronic illness from a young age, Amy embarked on a lifelong journey of healing, discovering the true wellness isn't just about what's happening inside our bodies, it's about how our internal and external environments shape our lives. If you're ready to explore how to build self belief, create lasting well being, and step fully into your own definition of success and fulfillment, then this conversation is for you. So let's dive in. Amy, your journey began with chronic illness and led you to holistic healing. So, what was the turning point that made you shift your approach to wellness?
Hi. Yeah, so I grew up with a condition called endometriosis. It was a very hormonally female-driven condition, and I went through all of the things I thought I was supposed to go through, all of the different drugs, all of the different pain medications, hormone interventions, and surgeries. And even after years of going through stuff like that, I was still having a lot of pain, and I was also contracting other symptoms from all the different drugs I was taking to sort of mitigate the pain that I had. So the whole thing wasn't really working for me. And so I had this moment of clarity where I was like, you know what? I don't even know what's helping me, what's not. I have pain anyways. So I kind of just had this moment of clarity and I decided to come off of everything and just start from scratch and see what was working, what wasn't, get to know my body again on a deeper level. And it was a different journey than I was expecting, actually. I started stepping into just any kind of different modality. I went to see like a cranial sacral therapist, a physiotherapist, a naturopathic doctor, which helped me so much. And I ended up not having to go back onto any of the medications. And it was one of those things where I just kept saying, well, how far can I go? How much of this can I step into and see these different results? And it was really, really powerful. The naturopath himself, he was amazing. He really helped me connect that it is about so much more than what everyone else just wanted to talk to me about. It was about so much more than just my female health. It was about my liver, my gut, my stress, everything. And it really got me to see that our internal environment is such a holistic community. And then after healing my inside, I really started paying attention to my external environment and understanding that my external environment extremely affected my internal environment and vice versa. And so I started seeing those as intertwining communities as well. And then as I just kept getting better and better and achieving all of these different things, I started realizing, you know what, we can't keep putting these kinds of things into boxes. It is about so much more than that. And so I fell in love with the word holistic. And holistic just means that everything affects everything else. And so when I stepped into a space of holistic self improvement, it's embodying the fact that your relationship affects your work affects your relationships affect your parenting. All of it is intertwined. And as much as we would love to put those things into boxes, we really can't. And if we want to feel fulfilled at the deepest level, it's learning to find harmony and flow in and success and whatever that means to us in all of those areas.
That's really noteworthy. Now, many people focus on one aspect of health, but you emphasize the importance of internal and external environments. So, how do these two influence each other?
So let's use how you're feeling internally and how that shows up in the world. If you're feeling unwell in any
Mhm.
way, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it comes out externally in your environment. It shows up in your relationships. It shows up in how you are achieving or not achieving your goals. It plays a huge role in even just how you interact with the world and how the world interacts with you if you're not feeling your best inside. And I think we like to think that that doesn't happen, or we can be strong enough to put on enough of a mask to make sure that our external environment isn't affected. But I think at the end of the day, that's a bit delusional. It is going to come out in some way. And then vice versa, how we spend our time externally, who we spend our time with, the things we do, the people we interact with, all have an effect on us inside as well. And so if we're spending time with a lot of people that cause us a lot of stress, or activities that cause us a lot of stress, or job that causes us a lot of stress, it's going to affect us internally. Especially women, stress is detrimental to our hormone levels. And so learning to recognize things like that and how they interact with each other has been extremely powerful. But there's also, I mean, external toxins. There's so much environmental toxins and things that we could talk about too that affect your internal body. So it's a little bit of both.
That is really remarkable. Can you share one small shift about someone that can make today to improve both their inner and outer well-being?
Mm, awareness to begin with, accepting that that is true and that it's possible to learn to work within that. And so when we're trying to make shifts, we usually have to believe it's possible for us, and then believe that it's going to be worth it. And so I'm giving you an example right now that it is possible. It is worth it, obviously, but that's my own biased opinion, but it's possible. And now how do you make something like this possible for you and believable for you? So if you hear that I have struggled with chronic illness, let's say, and I have found ways to not only live with that but thrive within that, that means to you, you believe it's possible. And now how can you shift that into, okay, what does that mean about me? Does that mean it's possible for me? And what steps are going to be taken there, and then is it going to be worth it? Because some of the steps take a long time, and they take a lot of attention, and they take a lot of effort. The things I did in the beginning, especially every day for the sake of my hormones, took a lot of intentional effort. And so I had to believe it was worth it to put so much time and energy into research and doing all of these things that I did. And so that would be my piece of advice: is, do you believe what you desire is possible? Do you believe it's possible for you? And do you believe it's going to be worth doing what it takes to get there?
That's going to surely be beneficial for all our listeners out there. Now, so many people struggle with self doubt and self worth. Can you share some key strategies for cultivating unshakable self belief?
I can. So when I look back on my healing journey, I can see that I had a lot of unconscious self belief. And so self belief means we believe, or what we believe about ourselves and what we're capable of in the external world, what we believe we're capable of achieving. Self worth is an internal game. Self worth is how we feel about ourselves on the inside. And so they're both very different, but both feed each other. And when I look back, I can see that a lot of the milestones I was able to hit was because I had a good level of self belief. And anytime I got tripped up, it was because I had a low level of self worth. And so I deeply believe that any success journey we are on, success being whatever that means to you as the individual, maybe it's a health journey, maybe it's a relationship you're trying to have success in, maybe it's monetary success, career success, anything like that. Our self worth and our self belief are always going to come into play. And so self belief is what we believe we're capable of externally. And to grow your self belief, it's three simple steps. Now, it's not always easy to achieve these steps, but it is three simple steps. It is just state, prove, and self assign. So, three steps. The first one is say that you're going to do something. Put it out there to yourself, to someone else, write it down, however that looks, but say you're going to do something. Let's use laundry as an example because everyone does laundry. So I say I'm going to do laundry. Step two is prove. Prove to yourself that you can get that thing done. So go do the laundry. And then the third step, which most of us struggle with, is the celebratory, the self assign. You have to give yourself credit for the thing that you did. And I love using laundry as an example because so many of us out there are going to be like, well, I don't need to give myself credit for laundry. That's something I just should be doing or need to get done. But if we can learn to self assign all of the little things we're doing in our day, we can really begin to self-assign the big things as well. I think we only allow ourselves to celebrate something that we achieve when it's grand. We have to justify how big enough it's supposed to be to celebrate. And in reality, there's so much we're doing every day that could start building our internal and external self-belief. And so it's basically keeping the promises you make to yourself and doubling down that, hey, I did that thing today. Even if I didn't want it to, or even if I didn't do it perfectly, I did the thing I said I was going to do. And that builds self belief.
That completely makes sense. Can you share a personal experience where shifting your self belief led to a major breakthrough?
Mm. I Looking back, I fortunately have always had a good level of self-belief. So I always believed that if I had enough time, energy, money, the tools, if I could learn new things, I could get something done. And so for me, it was more learning to double down on that and actually recognize when I'm doing it. And so let's say, so the other day, I really didn't want to go and do all of this behind the scenes work. We have this really awesome event coming up where I'm going to fly down to the States and go and speak at this event. And that all excites me. I love public speaking. I love doing all of these things. But the things I needed to do behind the scenes to make that event as best as possible, I was not motivated to do. However, looking back, I sat myself down and I said, I know I don't want to do this thing, but bonus, because I don't want to do it, it's actually going to double my self belief if I do. And so I took that upon myself to say, okay, now I'm actually going to intentionally not avoid this anymore. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get this work done, and I'm going to give myself that pat on the back I deserve for getting it done, even when I didn't want to.
That's again really remarkable. Now, you talk about owning your unique version of health, success, and abundance. So, why is it so important for people to define this on their own terms?
Because all of that is very individual. Success can mean anything to anybody. I think when we think of success, it's always monetary and in career, but for many women that I work with, success to them is being able to stay home with their children and being the best mother and partner that they can be. Success is becoming strong and fit and learning to work out regularly and have nutritious meals regularly. That's success to somebody. That's whatever it means to you is really important to define. What does success mean to you? What would it take for you to sit down and be like, oh, I feel successful? Because then it's going to help you understand what you need to almost reverse engineer to get there. To me, let's say having a successful marriage is very important to me. I feel like that's going to make me feel more successful. I know I am even just in more of an abundant state when I know my marriage is doing really well. So because that's what success means to me, I intentionally put effort into my marriage and learning about relationships and things every day. And so, what are those things for you? And how can you then reverse engineer how you show up in those areas every day based on what success means to you? And there's so many people that you can lean into to help you with that. That's why coaches and therapists and all sorts of people like us exist. But yeah, and then alignment and fulfillment. Alignment is very much individual as well. Fulfillment, I can break down into how everyone can feel about it, but alignment is very different for everybody. Alignment is your core values. Alignment is your core beliefs and it's your core aspirations. And so we all have all three. We all have core values, core beliefs, and core aspirations. And when all of those are in alignment and working towards the same thing, you yourself are in alignment. But you, as the individual, have to decide what that means to you. So, your core values, starting with what your core values are, is really important. There's a list online that you can just Google. It's Brene Brown's list of core values. There's a pile of them.
Mhm.
If you don't know what your core values are yet, go look at that list and pick a bunch out. There's tons. And then as you pick a bunch out, try and collect them into groups because it's really powerful to just have like 3 to 5 main core values that you can run your life through, almost like as a filter of what works and is aligned for you and what isn't. And so kind of group them down. When I first looked at this list, I think I had like 30 highlighted because not only does the feminine love to love all of the things, we don't like to be restricted in certain things, a lot of them just seemed so great. And so then after I narrowed down my 30, I grouped them into certain things, and a lot of them fell under the category of freedom. And a lot of them fell under the category of love. And then another huge group for me was growth, personal growth. And so those are my top 3 core values are freedom, love, and growth. And you can see that in all of the areas of my life where I feel the most aligned, it's because I'm embodying my personal freedom. So I love working from home. I make my own hours. I do all sorts of things like this. I homeschool my children. We have property. We have chickens. We live on a dirt road. Like my version of freedom shows up in my life and where I feel the most aligned. And then once you realize what your core wounds, I mean, your core values are, you can start seeing through a lens of, oh, this is why this thing felt really good. And this is why, even though I thought this activity or this person would be amazing, it didn't sit well with me. It's because there was a core value in conflict. And so if you can understand what your core values are, that's a huge foundation right there for alignment. And then what your core beliefs are, we talked a little bit about core beliefs in the beginning of just whether, like, what you believe is possible, what you believe is
Mhm.
possible, what you believe is possible about the world. Is that in conflict with one of your core aspirations? So aspirations being things you want to achieve in the future. What you're working towards in the future, if it's in conflict with the belief you have about yourself or the world or with a core value, it's going to be very hard to get there. So when we can look at our goals and especially line those goals up with what we believe about ourselves and the world and the core values we already have in place, we're going to have not only an easier time reaching the goal, but a better time getting there. And it's going to feel aligned and great once we get there. And so alignment is very individual, and knowing those things about yourself is going to help you feel more aligned and recognize when you're not in alignment.
That completely makes sense, Sami. Now, how can someone begin to break free from societal expectations and fully embrace their personal vision of success?
Mm. Anytime you're breaking free from the norm, and I kind of put that in quotations because nowadays what's normal, but if it's going against the grain of something, let's say in your culture or in your family or any kind of close paradigm that you have, it's really important to grow your self worth. So we allow the opinions of others and the weight of other people, and I'll leave it at that, come over us easier when we have low self worth. And it's easy for us to bend to the will of others because we don't believe inside that we are worthy of doing anything other than that. I even see it in women working on health journeys. They have all the tools in place. They know what they need to do. They believe that they can do it, but yet they still hit the ceiling. And it's because in the inside, they don't actually believe that they are worthy enough of not only feeling healthy, but thriving in this world, which sounds crazy when you say it out loud. Of course, no one thinks that logically, but in the backs of our brains, there's a piece of us that genuinely doesn't feel worthy of stepping away from certain groups of people, or worthy of having our own opinion outside of other people's, or worthy of feeling healthy and vibrant. And so working on self-worth is going to help you have the internal strength that you need to go against the grain.
That's really remarkable. So, if a woman feels stuck in chronic stress or exhaustion, like what's the first thing she should focus on to regain balance?
Oh, recognize that it's happening, accept that it's happening and that it's totally okay and it's totally normal. And then start taking small steps in the opposite direction. Anytime we try and do something from 0 to 10, it's not sustainable. We're never going to remain in a place of peace and non-stress. The second we recognize something that is causing us stress, it's okay, how can I start taking a 1% step away from this or into a more aligned state, let's say. And so recognizing what it is that is causing you stress, and then start deciding what baby steps are you going to take that are going to be sustainable enough for you to do every day to start moving in the opposite direction. Stress is so detrimental on our hormones. It can affect us so much as women. And so it's really, really important to understand when we feel like we are stressed, or even recognizing that we're stressed, because a lot of women can live in a very high amount of stress and not even recognize it because we're so built to handle so much. And so learning to recognize what is making you feel stressed and then doing what you need to do to mitigate it. But I do recommend that it be small steps every day. The only way we can be consistent with anything and build a beautiful foundation in an opposite direction is through consistency, and consistency really takes sustainability. And so maybe it's you just having a moment of self-care every day. Well, self-care, we would love to say, well, I'd love to go to the spa or get a massage or go for a retreat weekend or things like that. And if you can achieve that, amazing, do those things. But if that is not within your means, it's going to be better for you anyways. Instead of going on a trip once every 6 months for your self-care, what can you do something that's small every day? And that's going to help start building a nice foundation in the opposite direction. And so maybe it's a few extra minutes in the shower. Maybe it's a hot tea where you actually sit down and drink it while it's warm instead of microwaving it and reheating it 6 times. Maybe it's doing more for your skincare. Maybe it's going to bed and giving yourself rest, whatever that looks like. But start doing something really small every day for yourself. Not only is that going to help decrease your stress, but it's going to also increase your self-worth. Self-worth, a huge pillar of self-worth, is doing the things we need to do to take care of ourselves and investing in ourselves every day in a way that is simplistic and loving and sustainable. And so that's kind of, what is the saying? Killing two birds with one stone. It's a negative saying, but you're both things, right? At once, where you're building self-worth will also decrease in your stress.
That was something I needed to hear, so thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
And this conversation has been so empowering. Thank you for sharing your wisdom on holistic healing, self belief, and creating a truly fulfilling life.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're warmly welcome. If today's episode reconnected with you, connect with Amy. Whether you're looking to heal, grow, or redefine what success looks like for you, Amy's insights can help guide the way for sure. And if you love this conversation, share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe for more inspiring discussions on health, self growth, and personal transformation. Until next time, honor your journey, trust your intuition, and embrace the healthiest, most empowered version of yourself.